Growing up as a teenage boy, it's quite obvious that I had a fascination and love for video games. During those nights, I would usually play the video game Plants vs. Zombies, which has always been a fond favorite of mine. I was really good in all the computer stuff, hacking, cheat codes, etc., so on this one gloomy night, I decided to hack into the files of PvZ to see what I'd find. I eventually spotted a folder with the name of The Land of No Return. The name stood out like a sore thumb, and it caught my attention very quickly. Inside the folder was a link titled The Land of No Return-level, and clicking it brought me to the original Plants vs. Zombies. I was slightly confused as I assumed the link would take me straight to the scrapped level or whatever. I was finally taken to the PvZ menu screen and began searching for the level. I eventually checked mini-games and saw a level at the very end of the list titled The Land of No Return. The picture for the game was just a black screen. Maybe the developers scrapped the level before giving it a proper picture. I clicked it, and it started off like every normal adventure level, but what jumped out to me instantly was the lawn. It appeared to be a dark, foggy wasteland, and in place of the house was a World War II bomb shelter. The white picket fences were replaced with wooden barbed wire fences, and behind those were tombstones scattered about. The zombies remained the same from what I saw. I chose my plants, and after setting up a few sunshrooms, I began planning my pea shooters. It was a night level, by the way. It took the zombies like 2.5 minutes before they began attacking, so I had enough time to set up an entire defense of pea shooters. The zombies had finally begun to attack, and one was coming in the top lane. It was only then that I noticed the minor differences in the zombies. The zombie had a seemingly nervous expression, like he was about to perform in front of an audience. His brown coat had way more rips and tears, and his tie was black instead of striped. He walked with apprehensiveness as he darted his eyes around the lawn with dark bags underneath them. He wrung his hands with visible distress. The pea shooter fired at the zombie, and once the pea had struck him, he grabbed his stomach as it penetrated through him. Droplets of crimson painted the ground below. The zombie fell backwards and impacted the lawn with force, his body facing towards the sky, but his head facing towards me, and I will never forget the horrible look on the zombie's face. His eyes were bloodshot, and he had no pupils or irises. His mouth was left gaping. He lay there dead. I was deeply unsettled by the sight. It wasn't enough to cause me to panic, however, but it did strike a nerve in me. The way the zombie looked straight at me, dead in the eyes, it filled me with dread. Looking back towards the plants, it appeared they were shuddering. It was like they were attempting not to burst out with laughter. They stared at the zombie's corpse with concealed hilarity. Now I was really creeped out, but I was curious to see what would happen if I removed all the plants and then planted them back again, so I removed all of them. After waiting a few seconds, I decided to plant back my sunflowers and pea shooters. I forgot to mention, I replaced my sunshrooms with sunflowers earlier. I planted a pea shooter and sunflower in the middle lane, but I noticed both had an expression of pure rage and fury. I also noticed how they were staring towards the screen, at me. At this point, I was too trepid to continue playing, and I closed out of the level. Returning to the list of mini-games, I noticed that the level's icon had scratches and scribbles all over it. Plus, the level didn't have a name anymore. I was restless that night. All I envisioned in my dreams was that zombie's face of pure despair and anguish. I tried to think of logical solutions for the situation, but at the time, I couldn't come up with anything. I went to Google and tried researching the level, and I did learn that there was a level planned to be a minigame, but it was scrapped because it played out more like an adventure level. I thought to myself, if the level they're talking about is the Land of No Return, then what explains all the unsettling things I saw? I didn't know then, and I don't know now. I remember that happened in 2010. I was reminded of it after learning about this other scrapped PvZ level, which could only be accessed through this thing called the Limbo page, which contained loads of unused minigames. The page could only be accessed using cheat engines and stuff like that. The level I mentioned had something to do with ice, but I'm not sure. Hearing about this reminded me of the haunting experience I had all those years ago. Now that I'm an adult, the experience doesn't frighten me as much as it did, but it still sends shivers down my spine. To this day, I still question the existence of that level, and one day I hope I discover the truth. And I know, the face of that zombie will haunt me forever.